You're listening to the Peasinner Network. For more great podcasts, go to peasinner.com.au.
Spoiler alert. I mean, honestly, if you listen to this podcast, spoilers.
Spoilers. It's defying gravity.
Yes, absolutely. It is defying. It ceases to be just normal cleavage because, like, just the slit goes all the way down and around, and you're just like, how is there a clamp? And you're just like, this is a kid's show. This is a kid's show. People of the universe, please attend carefully. The message which follows is of vital importance to you all. We present to you a case study of one of the most dangerous minds in the universe. A history of the lives and times of the renegade Time Lord known as the Master.
The Master. Call me Master.
The choice is simple. Join us and continue listening, or face total annihilation.
Listen.
They are the Master, and you will obey them.
You will obey me.
Please attend carefully. Hello and welcome to Please Attend Carefully, the Doctor Who podcast about the most magisterial of malefactors. I'm Ciarán Moffatt.
I'm Amber Patrick.
And each episode we bring you a chapter from the lives and times of the renegade Time Lord, known universally as the Master. Today we will be looking at The Time Monster, a 1972 TV story written by Robert Sloman. Amber, tell us, what is it all about?
The Master, in the guise of Professor Thascales, has constructed at the Newton Institute in Wotton a device known as Tom Tit, transmission of matter through interstitial time, to gain control over Kronos, a creature from the outside of time. The creature is summoned but proves to be uncontrollable.
Dun, dun, dun. Every time. Yes. So you wanted to do the Time Monster for so long.
Yeah, probably since we started.
It's like one of your favorites, right?
I love this story. I think it just has, I know it's, at the time or something, it was really badly reviewed. Like,
you know what it is about it? What I think it is about it, right? It's not like a cohesive story. I don't think it goes together quite. You know what it is? It's like 3 episodes of Sliders. That's what it is. Like, it's the same story, but it's like told in 3 different areas, and it kind of makes it a bit like when you get to Atlantis, spoiler alert, you're just like, where was this production budget earlier?
Yeah, it suddenly comes out of nowhere that this isn't well, not really, but this is an Atlantis story. We are going to Atlantis. We are spending time on Atlantean politics.
Yeah,
like...
and Doctor Who has a history of constantly contradicting itself where Atlantis is involved.
There are some very specific things in this episode that make me love it a lot, which as we come across them, we'll talk about them. I mean, the first one is like the opening of this episode in which the Doctor has a dream. Yes,
you love this bit. It's just, Brigadier, I've seen the Master. Where? In a dream.
The look he gives to camera, like it's my Discord icon. I've got emotes of it. I love that weary look from the Brigadier to camera of just I was very disappointed because I read the book for this as well, which Terrence Dicks adapted.
Yep.
And I also listened to the audiobook that John Coulshaw read.
Yep.
They changed that sequence up in the book. I'm guessing because rather than cutting backwards and forwards like a camera can.
Yeah, they have to have them all in one thing for the scene to work.
Yeah, so instead of asking where he's seen the Master, the Brigadier just is like, oh, what? You've seen the Master? I'll be there right away. And he rushes over to the lab and he's like, okay, Doctor, where is he? And that's when the Doctor's like, oh, it was in a dream.
I like the fact that the Brigadier in the book is much more dynamic. He's like... The Brigadier, even when the Doctor's just like, I've seen the Master, the Brigadier's still like, okay, give it to me. Before he even gets to the in a dream. And then it's just like, I am entirely justified in my opinion of this man.
Yes.
Hello, Brigadier. It's the doctor here. Now listen to me. I want you to put out a worldwide warning. Alert all your precious unit HQs. Not that it'll do any good.
Thank you very much. And against what precisely am I supposed to be warning the world?
The Master. I've just seen him.
Seen him where? When?
In a dream.
So the Master is at this research facility. Like it's one of those handy placed things, right? It's an old country house where they're doing scientific work. They're getting funding from somewhere.
Yeah, it's the Newton Institute.
Yep.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, just pick a pick a scientist.
So, yeah, slap the word institute on it.
Yeah. Okay, so he's here in this country house that's just been retrofitted for all of that 70s sciencey stuff. We've got reel-to-reel tape everywhere.
Yeah. They really went all out on this one room in this institute. Like, there's no other room. Maybe we see the office of.
Oh yeah, we do see his office, which is all nice walnut paneling.
Percival's office, yeah.
It's the Master's office. Let's face it. The Master's just calmly sitting there writing letters
and smoking cigars and drinking brandy. Or that might only be in the book, but he definitely does that a lot.
I'm not sure if he is smoking cigars and drinking brandy. He's probably drinking brandy, but I'm not sure whether the BBC would have allowed him to smoke.
Okay, so in the book, he's got his feet up on the desk and he's smoking a cigar and stuff in there.
It's good to be the king.
So, yeah, he set himself up there building Tom Tit.
So he comes in and he's doing a Greek accent, which for him works because he's Turkish. And he's got assistants, one of whom is a like they are just like their personality traits. Like that's their genders. Like their personality traits. They are rabid women's lib doctor and
Labrador puppy young man.
Yeah.
Useless man.
He's an idiot, right? And you're just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, he's a intern or something.
Yeah.
I believe some kind of placement he's on. But anyway, she's like the character that she's a women's lib enthusiast, but that just means that all the men get to roll their eyes and go, "Oh, women's libs, am I right?"
Yeah. Feminists, am I right?
Yeah, and you're like, okay, sure, just put them in. Build this straw man up.
Yeah,
Great.
I mean, like, the only thing I can say for it is that at least it's like 1970s sexism, which is a bit more like head patty than like modern day Andrew Tate sexism. Like, so
Yeah.
it makes it slightly easier to watch,
Like,
but still not great.
She still gets called like my dear.
Ugh.
And like, that's my girl and things like that. But I did listen to some of the commentary for this episode, and the costume designer was she was one of the people on the commentary track.
Yeah.
And she said, she was like, no, this is a pretty good representation of almost exactly what it was like at the time.
Yeah.
She's like, this is pretty spot on. So, I mean, kudos to them for actually capturing what it looked like.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose that's the thing about when you portray truth like that. It to the men watching, it looked like, oh, it's fine. This is fine. They're behaving like gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's all the same, really. A bland assumption of male superiority.
May God bless the good ship Women's Lib and all who sail in her.
The Master has a big old bit of quartz.
Yes.
Big old quartz crystal.
I think it's in this scene that we learn, because we also have some stuffy shirt investors poking around, wanting to know where their money's going. And so we kind of learn that this machine is about transporting things through interstitial time.
Yeah, and it's just like, what's that? I've never heard of it. I've never read any papers on it. And it's just like, no, you haven't, because you're a money counter. That's how that works.
And you're funding new research. You'll read the paper on it when you let them research it now. This
right? This is not how this works. But let's face it, the guy is there. The guy's not a MacGuffin. What is he? He's like plot device to get UNIT there, right? Because he's part of the government. The government is funding this, and any government funding into new scientific projects, UNIT has to come and check out. Just in case.
Yeah.
Just in case the very thing that's happening is the thing that's happening.
Yeah. I do love the line where even they know, because they're like, Tom Tit, never heard of anything like that in my life. What a load of rubbish. And you're like, I mean, it is pretty funny.
It is the stupidest bloody acronym. And like, do you think, like, the Master obviously came up with that, And do you think the Master ever... Well, no, we know the Master, like Missy, at one point, it goes, yeah, look, it wasn't my best work. Look, I'll be perfectly honest, like, you know, acronyms aren't my strong suit.
Well, it's interesting because when they say Tom Tit in the unit lab that the Brigadier is going to look at a project called Tom Tit, the Doctor knows what the acronym means.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to know whether or not he guesses or if this is technology that Time Lords know of.
If it's technology Time Lords know of, then he is being far too louche about this.
Well, again, is he just trying to get the Doctor's attention?
Also, the Doctor in this story is very offhand with everyone in this story. He's constantly just like, no, I'm too busy. No,
yeah, Joe,
no.
you stay here. I'm going. Yeah.
And then he'll be talking, and then eventually he'll go, like, he'll do that thing where his brain is finally caught up with the things that he says and go, wait a minute, what did you say? And like, he does that about 5 times this story.
So he has this dream about the Master, which we mentioned.
The Master is standing over him in Atlantis going,
yeah. And he then asks Joe, have there been any earthquakes recently?
Yep.
And she's like, oh, yeah, there've been some over here. And she points to a very specific spot on a map. And Yates is there too. And they're looking at it. And he's like, nah, that's not important.
Yeah. And it's somewhere out in Greece.
And she's like, oh, that's a shame. I thought we were going to go to Atlantis. And she's like, the Doctor's like, what do you mean? She's like, well, this is the earthquakes were in Atlantis where they say it was.
Like, this is the Doctor and the Master all over, right? The Master, like, stops and takes in everything he hears and goes, yes. Whereas the Doctor's just like, nope, wait. So, I've dismissed it. I'm undismissing it. What's happening? So, yeah, the things are happening in Atlantis, and the Master, Professor Thascales, is working with these scientists who, quite frankly, I don't remember their names and I don't care. And
it's Stuart is the guy.
Yep.
And is it Ruth?
Ruth, there we go.
So he's working with these scientists, and they're going to have to do a presentation to the Stuffy Shirts and to Unit.
That's a great line where it's just like, we're going to be doing a test. Oh yes, fine. They're also bringing some people called Unit. Are they?
Yeah, and he's like, actually, you know what? I'm going to stay here and do the tests. And Ruth, you're going to go in my place to talk to Unit, because he knows he can't show his face to Unit because they'll know who he is straight away. So he has to send Ruth and he'll stay and do the test. But I think it's before then. It is. Ruth and Stuart decide to test the machine without him there.
Yeah.
Because they haven't tested it and they have to show it off later. So they need to check it works. So the two of them, Stuart manipulates Ruth's feminism, I suppose, by being like, oh, what? You need a man around to tell you what to do? Or you should just test it yourself. You're as good as he is. And she's like, you know what? I am.
Yeah. And so they test the machine, and they move a vase, and in the process, they kill a window cleaner. This window cleaner is looking in the window going, what?
Yes.
And he falls off his ladder in the Animal House scene. Just
it's incredible because on the commentary of the show, they said that this is a stuntman that they use all the time, and they're like, if you ever see anyone fall backwards off of anything in Doctor Who,
it's him.
It's this man, and he loves doing it. It's his favorite stunt to do. So while this test is going on, suddenly something happens and like, oh, the chamber's being flooded with too much time. And it just, I don't know, some techno jargon. Back in his lab at Unit, the Doctor has built the greatest prop.
The time detector.
In BBC history.
Yep. The Doctor has discovered that there is time happening somewhere. So the only way it can be described as that this thing is a sort of vaguely triangular sort of angular.
Two dials at the bottom.
Yeah, two big dials at the bottom, and the tip goes. It is the most phallic object in Doctor Who history.
It's his master detector.
It is his master detector. It's so bad.
Oh, it's the best prop I've ever seen. and they point it in the directions, and it's got like a handle, so they hold it like a gun.
What I love is that
penis gun.
What I love is that it's a functional prop, right? So it's got a trigger button, and the trigger button pops up the little dial at the end that then spins around. And I'm like, guys, you've built something that really elegantly works, which very few props on Doctor Who actually elegantly work well like that. But also, it looks like shit.
I think it's incredible. It's one of the reasons why I love this episode so much, because there's just ridiculous stuff happening.
The Doctor and Joe are heading off to go and find the Master, and we find out that Bessie has like inertial dampeners and stuff in it. It's like Bessie can go as fast as possible, and they don't even need seatbelts.
No,
like they don't have seatbelts at all.
I've written here the music when they're driving in Bessie. I don't know what the music is because it's been a while since I watched the episode.
Oh, okay.
Whatever the music is, it was great.
I
think the Master comes in and they manage to stop the machine, or it's the Doctor, I can't remember which one, but they reverse the polarity to stop the machine.
This is where I get a bit blurred, because I know they start doing the actual test in front of people, and the Master has decided to come in the amazing the amazing disguise of he's wearing a lead suit and refuses to lift up his visor to talk to anyone.
Yep.
And then he starts doing stuff which leads to a big overflow of like time energy, or no, it leads to Kronos coming through, doesn't it?
Yeah, so all the stuffy shirts and unit, they're all in the room.
Yep. And poor Stuart has literally the life sucked out of him.
Yes, I have written here that the Master yells, "Come, Kronos, come!" And I wrote 10 out of 10. We'll be using that drop out of context.
Kronos is coming. Come, Kronos! Come!
Now we get one of the most interesting monster attacks. I think you would agree.
Wow!
Just a man on wires.
Okay, so I have a note here. I have a note about what they wanted to do. Originally, it was thought that the Kronos costume would be made from reflective white material, which would flare against the camera by using peaking lighting levels. Barry Letts suggested using CSO, which is color separation overlay, which is the precursor to blue screen technology we have today, or green screen, with a flame forming the body.
Uh-huh.
To create the effect of Kronos flapping its wings, the production team shot various close-up of birds' wings, which would be inserted as a CSO shot. The production team had access to a dove, a cockatoo, a chicken, and an owl, but only the shots of the dove's wings made it into the final edit. Yep. Time Bird! Time Bird!
Yeah, for Kronos, the god of time. It's an odd design, and the actor...
The thing is, if you see the costume separated from the show, like it does look very regal. It looks very cool. Like if you see like the helmet with the spike, and because used to be like a Doctor Who book I had when I was a kid that had like a production photo of the costume, and it looks stunning as a costume. But literally, if it's just, and also accompanied by
the actor, and they're very stiff on the wires.
Yeah,
their bottom half
like
is very rigid.
Two pulleys, just
yeah, and they're moving around, and all the other actors have to be like, oh, like with their hands, like trying to get away from it. Like it just, and it's obviously the stinger for the end of one of the episodes.
Yeah,
yeah, I can see why people at the time are probably like, this isn't as good as other things we've seen. Like when you think about all the other stuff that was in this series.
Yeah, but it is an interesting. It was a very interesting choice that they made. I'm not sure it quite pays off, but Kronos, the ancient Greek titan of time, father of Zeus, and chicken.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stuart has been aged, and apparently it took them ages to get those prosthetics to work. They tried latex and it looked shit. The final result of his face is made with tissue and honey.
Right.
Yeah. So great, looks great on camera.
Yeah.
But you'd be terrified of wasps.
The Master runs away.
As he normally does. It's just like, it was me, bye.
And he just runs away, and he hides, presumably just in Percival's office.
Yeah, he hides in the office because
Doesn't even leave.
He's hypnotized Percival, right? So he's just hiding, he's just hiding out in his office again, just sitting at the desk, just writing. Well, no, he doesn't even sit at the desk. The next time we see him, he's literally just sitting in an armchair reading a book.
Yeah.
While Percival's going, they're going to find us. Like he's having a panic attack. He's going paranoid, and the Master's just like, it's fine.
I love that Unit showed up and he didn't even leave the building. Unit didn't sweep every room there was.
What is going on, guys?
I do love one of the directors says to the Brigadier, oh, he's probably miles away by now. And the Brigadier just says, no, he's not. And I love, the Brig is learning. But the Brigadier does call Yates for backup.
Yes. So as they get there, they get slowed down until they're a still shot.
Do love Nicholas Courtney's slow motion acting.
Yeah, well, because they actually slowed. They do he does. It starts with some slow motion acting, and then it is actually slowed footage, and then literally it is a still photograph that they use later in that episode. Every time they cut back to them, it's a still photograph, and you can tell it's a photograph because it looks glossy. Time things are happening.
Benton gets left to guard the crystal.
Oh, that's right. Poor Benton.
And the Master obviously wants to get in there. And they do a fake phone call to Benton.
That's right. This is the smartest Benton's ever been.
Yeah, so Percival calls Benton and says, oh, you're needed at the gatehouse. The Brigadier said so. Benton's like, don't believe you. I'd need to hear that from the Brig himself. And he's like, oh, well, you could call the Brigadier. I apparently know this.
Yeah.
Just ring this number and the Brigadier will pick up.
1-800-Brigadier.
Yeah, and Benton rings it and the Master picks up.
With some wonderful, mouth sync with to Nicholas Courtney's voice.
Is this one of the first times we've had the Master directly mimicking a voice?
I mean, look, he's been played by other actors, like, you know, people wearing like fake masks.
That's true.
It's like,
That's
so
true.
He does pretend to be people, but just over the phone.
Yeah. He says, like, yes, this is the Brigadier, and he makes the mistake of calling Benton my good fellow.
Yeah, my good fellow, and not Sergeant Benton.
Yeah, and I do love that that's how Benton knows. Now, in the book, I don't remember if it's the same in the show. In the book, he opens a window.
Yep.
And he leaves. And then he lets them see him walking across the courtyard.
Yep.
But then he doubles back into a fire escape.
So in this, what he does is the window in the interior office, because it's in two rooms, right? There's the one room that has to be blocked off, and then there's the other room where everyone else goes. So he goes out the door, he lets them see him walking across the quad, and he doubles back, and then he goes up the window cleaner's ladder because it was a Chekhov's gun.
Yep. Yes, and he climbs back into the office and he waits, and then they come in thinking he's gone, and he comes out with a gun and he's like, all right, I got you. And the Master's like, oh, I guess I actually genuinely didn't expect you to be that smart.
Yep. He does not give enough credit to the unit soldiers.
To Benton, yeah.
To Benton especially.
And I'm obsessed with the idea of the Master never getting Benton's name right. I mean, I know he doesn't, but I'd love for him to be like, oh, Benton, you've fooled me again.
My name is Benton, damn it.
And rather unfortunately, the Master's just like, grabs the gun off of him.
Yeah.
Just grabs it.
And then he uses the crystal. That's right. He starts using the crystal, as he said. He's trying to power it up to bring back Kronos. And the Doctor invents something with a wine bottle and a couple of forks and things.
This, I saw, was very heavily criticized at the time.
Yeah.
As being just silly.
It is. It reminds me of that line in Time Crash. Look at me, I'm the Doctor, and I can save the universe with a kettle and some string. And it very much does seem like that. It looked so stupid. It looked so stupid. And then, of course, it explodes because the Master's just like, well, have that. As is usually the way in science fiction. It's just like someone turns a knob and goes, ha-ha, I'll go faster. I'll go stronger.
Yeah.
And what's that meant to be?
You're a Philistine, Brigadier. It's not meant to be anything. It just is. I hope.
You mean it's just a ridiculous piece of modern art?
No, certainly not. It's a time flow analog.
Of course it is, Ruth. You should have seen that at a glance.
The relationships between the different molecular bonds and the actual shapes form a crystalline structure of ratios.
Does it make any sort of sense, Dr. Ingram?
None whatsoever.
Just as I thought. Doctor, please stop this silly game at once.
Patience, Brigadier. Patience.
He drags a priest through interstitial time to him, a priest of Atlantis.
Yep.
So he's got another crony
Yes.
now, who's this Atlantean priest dressed in robes and the wig. We do get, I've written here, new master gadget, the video watch.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Very, very clever. Because, that's right. Because the Master starts using interstitial time to bring things through to attack the unit soldiers.
Yes.
So I personally love this. And apparently this is where this story started for Robert Sloman. Apparently he was walking down the street and he heard a plane going past. And his first instinct was anxiety because it sounded like a German bomber going overhead. Because you have to remember these people who were adults in the Blitz. And he thought, wouldn't that be a great, if someone could call through bombers, he calls through a whiz-bang, which is a rocket which caused much devastation in Britain. And I love that, like the unit soldiers just get out of the way just in time. And there's this rustic who's just like, there was a whiz-bang crash here in the 1940s.
Just to let us contextually know that this was a thing dragged through time.
And then the Master starts bringing through roundheads to attack them.
And we get the Mike Yates death fake out.
Yeah.
To end the episode for that particular section.
Yeah.
It's just a fake out. We get to the next episode and he's fine. So this is where the Doctor decides he's going to put his TARDIS inside the Master's TARDIS so that they're inside each other.
Okay.
Just moving past that one.
I'm just look, I know you want to linger.
No, it's fine. Move on.
So I think we need to talk about the TARDIS. Okay, so the Master's TARDIS, I love, the exterior of it is gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
It is a big computer bank. But what I love is the interior. It's like a matchbox design. The side slides out and they get in there and push their way in. It's great.
Yeah, it's not like just a flapping, like a door on a hinge that opens.
No,
it is really nice that it
in.
slides. Yeah.
Which is great because then the wall, where there would normally be an interior door of the TARDIS is like a slide out thing. So this is the first and only time we see this TARDIS interior.
Okay.
Yep. Because Barry Letts fucking hated it. He's just like, what do you, big bowls. So yeah, and I like the difference between the Master's TARDIS and the Doctor's TARDIS. So the Doctor's TARDIS has the up and down rotor with the time rotor is still the same thing. Like the TARDIS console is still exactly the same. It's just bowls on the wall, bowls to the wall. And the Master's TARDIS has got a silver. You know what it looks like? It looks like a fondue, like a chocolate fountain, a chocolate fondue fountain in the middle of it instead of the time rotor. Because, of course, his is a type 41 or something like that. It's always just a little bit advanced, more advanced than the Doctor's. Or a Mark IV or something, I can't remember.
Joe and the Doctor end up with their TARDIS inside the Master's TARDIS.
Yep.
But then, and they're in their console room, their own one. But then Benton's escaped and gotten the scientists, Ruth and...
Stuart.
Ruth and Stuart.
He's still laying there.
And they've come back.
Yep.
They confront him. They confront the Master in the room with Tom Tit. And the Master just pushes through them and runs into his TARDIS.
Yeah.
And my notes in caps say, Benton, just shoot him. He's running away. Just get him. How many times can he just brush past you?
He's public enemy number one. Just
shoot him. No one will care. The Doctor might, but...
See, I often talk to people who are American fans of the show, and I often get the feeling that there is a certain level of American exceptionalism about how Doctor Who would be better if it was made in America. If it was made in America, Benton would have shot the Master.
Yeah, that's true. Obviously I don't want that to happen.
No, obviously not.
But it's the military constantly just letting this man, I think at any point, we now just say, yeah, we can deal with this.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get Joe is in the TARDIS talking about how her coccyx hurts. And then the Master appears and is like, well, I'm sorry to hear about your coccyx, Miss Grant.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I hurt my tailbone. Sorry to hear about your coccyx. You what? Like, just it just seemed like an oddly puerile joke.
Yeah. Then there's some hardcore flirting across the computer screens between TARDIS consoles. And
Yes.
I love that one of them mutes the other.
Yeah. The Doctor's TARDIS is inside the Master's TARDIS, while the Master's TARDIS is inside the Doctor's TARDIS, which has happened before. Well, actually, no, it'll happen later in Logopolis. One day we'll get to Logopolis. I love that story. The Master just mutes him, and the Doctor's just like, and the Master's just like, oh yes, you'll get. Oh, he's got it. There we go. Yes, you're muted. Right. And then, of course, he does a thing where he like feedback loops what the Doctor's trying to say, and so the Doctor starts talking. Yep. And the Doctor's just like, God damn it.
I have written here as well. We cut back out to the Newton Institute with the scientists, and Ruth and Benton and Stuart look out the window and see that everyone's frozen.
Yep.
And they're all very calm about the fact that time and space is just frozen outside the window. And they decide to basically reverse the effect of the machine, and they'll run it backwards in an attempt to.
And it doesn't work.
No.
What happens is that Benton gets turned into a baby.
It's baby Benton.
Come on, baby Benton. Come on, get it down here.
What are you feeding him on now?
The remains of my lunchtime sandwiches mashed up with some cold tea.
The Master succeeds in basically scattering the atoms of the Doctor and his TARDIS into the vortex.
Yeah, well, and that's it's interesting. Apparently, that wasn't meant to be the cliffhanger for that episode.
Right.
The Doctor was meant to be eaten by Kronos. But they found that episode 4 was too short and episode 5 was too long, so they're just like, just make this bit the ending.
Then he banishes Joe and the TARDIS just into time and space.
Yep. And then the Doctor uses the telepathic circuits to get back to the TARDIS.
Yeah, because of course it's a cliffhanger, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That was also the final episode to ever feature all of the main cast in one episode. So
Doctor, Joe, Master, Brigadier,
Benton and Yates.
Yeah, Benton.
Yep, so all 5 of them appear in that episode, and that's the last time they ever all appear together in an episode. Because Yates doesn't appear in the last 2 episodes of this story.
Interesting.
Yep. Suddenly, whiplashed into Atlantean politics, and there's a mob of Atlanteans who want the king to, stop oppressing them.
So there are some really, truly incredible feats of engineering in this story. One being the Doctor's the new interior of the Doctor's TARDIS, which Barry Letts hated. 2 being the phallic divining thing. The third, and I think the most impressive feat of engineering, is the Queen's cleavage.
You mean her bra, surely?
Yeah. Whatever's happening there, it's like I don't know, there's some sort of cantilever happening. It's
defying gravity.
Yes, absolutely. It is defying gravity. Like, it ceases to be just normal cleavage because like just the slit goes all the way down and around, and you're just like, how is there a clamp? And you're just like, this is a kid's show. This is a kid's show.
The cat she's holding doesn't want to be there.
No, I saw that.
It doesn't. That cat's doing everything it can to get off that set.
I'd like the second I saw that, I was just like, never work with children or animals.
No.
But yeah, so the setting of the setting of Atlantis. Where was this production budget earlier?
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking gorgeous. The bits we saw of Atlantis in the first 3 episodes were just, for some reason, shot on a different camera. They were shot on a cine camera, not a TV camera, because they were all blurry. And it was like they were trying to make it look more and more like I, Claudius. They may have even stolen some sets from I, Claudius. I don't know.
I tried my hardest to research this, but I couldn't find anything that talked about where this set came from or anything.
Like, so it's intricately hand painted. Like, so those clips at the start are like all done in shadow with like fire and shadow. And this is just beautiful. Like, it is a Greek marketplace, and it is
Yeah.
It is stunning. The costumes are stunning. And
I suppose that's why there's only one room at the Newton Institute, because it all had to go over on this.
Yeah, but for the last 2 episodes, they spent all their money on
this
episodes.
is the finale of this series, so I can
Yeah,
see
I
why they
suppose.
probably wanted to go out on a big set. You know?
Yeah.
So the Master arrives at Atlantis. Queen's instantly horny for him. Like, the bedroom eyes right out the gate. She's like, I want him. I have no idea who this man is. Get him into my bedchamber.
Yeah. And then there's young man who clearly wants to rule, and
then there is Queen's bedchamber maid who is making eyes at young man who wants to.
I know.
rule.
I'm just. I was watching it. I'm just like, you've suddenly introduced a lot of interpersonal relationships that I have very little like. And Benton was just made a baby a few minutes ago, so I'm struggling, guys. They all serve Poseidon, but really they want to be serving Kronos and.
Yeah, because Poseidon's the king of the sea, but then Kronos is his dad.
Yeah, but
and
he's
more powerful.
Yeah, but Kronos is meant to be like Kronos was thrown out by the gods. He was thrown down to Tartarus.
Yeah.
And obviously what they're trying to say is just like, see the Atlanteans, they wanted to follow Kronos, and then they pissed off Poseidon, who put their city at the bottom of the sea.
Yeah. And all of this is being introduced, and you're like, this has nothing to do with what we've been watching.
What whiplash. And over this course of an episode, 3 different people get put in and then taken out of jail cells.
Yes, that's right.
They're everyone gets put in a jail cell at some point. And then people are, people are killed. And
basically what happens is the Master decides he wants to be king of Atlantis because,
because why not?
Why not? So, but he's got to get rid of the other king.
Yep.
And so he's flirting with the queen, and he just says, "Lady Queen, you are beautiful." That's his flirting. And she's convinced that that's all she basically doesn't need to hear anything else than that. And I wrote here, can she try a little harder, be harder to get than that? Just someone being like, "You are beautiful," objective fact.
It really, really does. It feels like I, Claudius, or even at some points, because it's so stupid, it feels like Up Pompeii.
Yeah, he's just like, you know what? What if I rule and your husband retires, but he'll still kind of be the king, but I'll really be in charge. And she's like, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So she's trying to usurp her husband. Meanwhile, the husband, the king, is a wise and understanding king. And so, of course, the doctor and the king get on an intellectual level.
Yeah. Then the Master just has the king arrested, thrown into jail, and then just killed, or just thrown against a wall, and he smacks his head and dies because he's an old man.
Yeah.
And the doctor and Joe watch this happen. Joe gets to use her escapology to get out of handcuffs.
Did she spend a long hot summer with Houdini as well?
And or does she not? Or she can't because they're too hard. She never did Atlantean handcuffs, but the doctor gets them out anyway. And the Queen goes to the Master and it's
there's also a gag in something about when he undoes his thing, he does the whole Venusian bit. Oh, it's easy if you've done Venusian or Kaido. They all have 8 arms and things. He's just leave it alone.
Yeah, and then the Queen comes to the Master and is like, "Where's my husband?" And he's like, "Oh, there was an accident." And she's like, "This wasn't part of the deal." So they're in the jail, Joe and the doctor.
But then, Minotaur!
Yeah. Just casually, now we've got a Minotaur.
We throw them to the Minotaur.
Yeah, I've written that the Minotaur actually looks a bit more sad than ferocious. It's not the best.
Do you know who plays the Minotaur?
It's the guy who plays Darth Vader.
Yes, it's David Prowse.
Yep.
Well, one of the guys who plays Darth Vader.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a very scary sequence. Joe gets thrown into the labyrinth with the Minotaur and the doctor has to go down there. There's a part where they throw the Minotaur through a wall, but it's obviously paper.
Oh my god, yeah. And apparently, I love this, David Prowse was expected to perform all of the Minotaur scenes. Since he wasn't a trained stuntman, he refused to complete certain scenes, so Terry Walsh had to double for him in the scene where the Minotaur crashes through a stone wall.
Stone wall.
Yeah, stone in inverted commas.
That's right. I've written here, I don't care how many glass sound effects you put on that soundtrack. That is paper.
I know. It's so bad, isn't it?
So they escape. But then they're captured still because we go to the throne room and the master is sitting on a little throne at the top of the in the center of Atlantis. And I've put, if I was the master, I wouldn't let the doctor be in the room when I make my speech. Because the doctor and Joe are just like riffing on the master's speech.
Heard it.
Yeah, like they're like, why don't you tell us where the king's gone? And it's like, get them out of there. Don't let them be in the room.
Yes, well, one day the master will understand and just kill whoever's there and just be like, no, I'm not telling you my grand plan. You're just dying and I'm carrying on. I'm not taking any chances anymore. That's a fun idea for a story, like a master who is like completely cutthroat and willing to actually go, no, you know what, this time I'm doing it. Like, we're killing everyone. And then maybe you have to have like a previous master try and stop him because it's like, no, you're going to destroy the whole universe.
The game. The integrity of the game.
I mean, I suppose that was kind of masterful, but anyway.
Yeah.
I shall present to you His Holiness, the most venerable Lord Master.
Silence! He summons Kronos. So again, we get Kronos flying around the Atlantean set. We get the set like shaking. We get sand and debris falling from the roof, and it starts collapsing. And the master and all they escape into their TARDISes as they normally do.
Can I just say also about this new TARDIS design? Something that it felt like they went backwards because the doors can't close. Like the doors don't close properly. If you look at it, you know that there is a stagehand on the other side going,
trying
like fingernails, desperately holding on. But yes, they go outside of time and they meet Kronos outside of time.
Yeah, both their TARDISes crash into nowhere, basically. It's just a void of nothing. And Joe and the Doctor come out. And there's just nothing to look at. And then
there's a giant woman face bird.
Yeah. Appears over the entire screen.
We should point out as well, like Kronos is meant to be not particularly all that special. Kronos is a chronivore, a creature that lives outside time that eats. So it's one of many. Like, so I suppose that's what makes the whole bird thing a bit more palatable. Like, because it is more of a creature and less of a being.
Yeah.
But then suddenly you get a being at the end of it's just like, oh, I shall get rid of the just like talking to the Doctor.
Yeah, and she says like, I will,
I'll fix everything.
I'll grant you what you desire. And he's like, oh, we want to go home alive. And she's like, and what of this other fellow?
It's exactly the same as the 5 Doctors, just like, oh, he'll go off into time and space. No harm, no foul.
No, they're going to take him with them. He's coming with them. That's what they ask. He'll return with us. But as they start going back into the Doctor's TARDIS, the Master like pushes Joe over and then runs back into his own. Actually, no, what? No, he doesn't. First, he mugs, falling to his knees, begging, hands clasped together. Please, let me live. He's like, oh, I suppose you can come with us. And it's like,
How many times are you going to fall for it?
Yeah, I love that. Well, I mean, he got down and begged, so.
He's no good for you.
He's just Joe coming in. He's no good for you, Doctor.
And I'm the one that has to pick up the pieces every time.
Yeah, he pushes Joe over and he runs back into his own TARDIS.
I just, like, he pushes Joe over and she's just, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, and he runs
again.
Off. They get back and they restore baby Benton to regular Benton, and everyone
Apparently he was fucking terrified that whole scene that the nappy he was wearing was going to fall off.
That's right. We end on it like, what?
Yes.
Benton standing up in a nappy.
Can you imagine that being the last scene of Doctor Who you see for a year? I mean, I can.
So everything. Oh yeah, and the Doctor undoes everything else. All of the time, like, gets fixed so that they're not moving slow anymore, not frozen, and like the night goes back in time, and the whiz bang goes back in time.
Yep, everything.
Yep, all fixed, all wrapped up, all neatly. Except and Atlantis. He says to Joe like, "Oh, wasn't it weird? That was like thousands of years ago in the past that we were there doing that. And you're like, oh,
okay.
Okay.
Just had to, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I hardly thought it was Atlantis now.
So, so this episode has a lot of, I think, fun moments and elements. Overall, I guess, well, now I'm talking back over it, it's a little rough. And it's hard to remember what happens in that middle episodes, like 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Are all a bit, they use Tom Tit like 5 different times or something.
Like I say, it's like it is a different story at the end to what it is at the beginning.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what makes it difficult. Like there are some Doctor Who stories that do that. You know what? It felt like the pacing and the change up and stuff like that. It felt like one of those remnants of a second Doctor era story.
Yeah.
Like that pacing that they got with that. It's like
For me, it's like there's 2 4-parters that aren't long enough to be 2 4-parters. So we'll strip out 2 of them and smack them together and make them a 6-parter.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Because the Master using Tom Tit to bring threats from out of time to attack Unit is a fun idea.
Yeah.
Is it its own 4-part episode? Is that interesting enough? The Doctor traveling to Atlantis and having Kronos and stuff around, and all the Atlantean politics, is that 4 episodes worth of content?
See, I'd be interested to see, because I know that there's a Bruce Master audio, Master, that I think it's the second box set, has to do with Kronos.
Right.
So I'd be interested to see. Kronos also shows up in the Big Finish 20th anniversary box set that they did, Legacy of Time. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
But I still love it. I love the time sensor prop.
Oh God.
I love the Master. The Doctor's had a dream. It says to the brig, I've seen him, he's in a dream. I love the Master begging on his hands and knees at the very end, just mugging his heart out. I love him attempting to seduce the Queen. Like
it's actually a very commonly used shot of Roger Delgado, the shot where he gets caught out and he's like
yeah.
Yeah. That one photo gets used a lot.
That's why I picked it, because I just love a lot of elements of this episode.
But what about the Master?
He stays.
What will happen to him?
Torment, of course. The pain he has given so freely will be returned to him in full.
No! Doctor, please! Please help me, I can't bear it. Please, Doctor, please!
Ciarán, were you attending carefully?
Well, I mean, not as carefully as you, but...
What lunch does the Master say Ruth should enjoy on his behalf?
It's like cold shepherd's pie or something like that. It's pheasant. It's like bad pheasant.
Yes, tough pheasant.
Yeah, we go.
He says, and then the book confirms that she thinks when she's coming back from lunch, it was tough. He was right. Because then they have a thing later on where they're like, pheasant for lunch? Oh, what are we funding out here?
Yes.
And they're like, well, we are on a country estate. It's actually pretty easy to come by a pheasant. It's not...
you just go shoot one. Yeah.
All right. What scientific paper did Professor Thascales presumably write?
On the nature of interstitial time or something like that?
Nearly.
Yeah. Tom Tit, the something...
No, the granular structure of time.
Granular structure of time. Granular structure of time does kind of suppose that, Time Lords sometimes are just like, it's a bit gritty. Bit gritty.
This one, because I thought it was funny. So it's a funny answer.
Okay.
What does the Master say is the oldest trick in the book?
Landing a TARDIS inside another TARDIS?
No, smacking a gun out of the hand and throwing someone across the room, because that's what he does to Ben. Because Benton says, the telephone call, oldest trick in the book. And the Master goes, no, my dear sir. Smacks the gun out of his hand, throws him across the room and says, that's the oldest trick in the book. And I was like, what? Right. How many people does the Master successfully hypnotize in this story?
1.
I will accept that. unless you think Krasus, who is the priest, is ever.
I don't think he's hypnotized. I think he goes willingly because the master says that he is like, I serve Kronos, so you serve me, and he's like, all right.
Yeah, that's fair. So yes, 1 is correct. 2, I would have also accepted 2 if you felt that.
Yeah.
He attempts to hypnotize the king. He fails. What does the master say the doctor's fatal weakness is that won't allow him to complete the time ram?
Compassion for Joe?
Correct.
Yay!
Yep. We didn't really talk about that, but that was when their 2 TARDISes are together and they're in the
whole point of
vortex
a time ram. It pops up in a few Doctor Who stories where
Mm.
2 TARDISes try to inhabit the same space at the same time.
So you got...
I think I got
2.
2-ish.
Oh, no, 3.
3.
3 out of 5.
Oh, good. Oh, that's nice.
Deaths. The king, who's killed on the master's orders. And then there's just a bunch of Atlanteans dead at the end, so... You know.
Unnamed people. Yeah. Okay. Still better to be Prime Minister.
Oh, I don't know. Probably more Atlanteans died than Prime Minister.
Well, it depends if you reverse time or
Probably not as effective as daffodils in the end.
No, yeah. Everyone loves a daffodil. Okay. Awesome. Oh, what have we learned? I see that look on your face. I see you.
The Doctor has a master detector that's in the shape of a penis.
Yes. The master likes crystals. He's one of those. He likes crystals.
Yeah, well, we said this before. He's into magic if it helps him.
Yeah.
He has, I don't think it's ever seen again, a video watch.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It is beautifully done. I love that.
Would have liked to have seen him use that more.
Yeah.
Like, what's the feed of the video? What's giving him that? Yeah.
Time-space visualizer.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Now in watch form.
Yeah, I really liked it. I'm sad it's the only time we probably see it. The Time Lords may or may not be familiar with Tom Tit as a technology. It's ambiguous.
I mean, they know what interstitial time is.
Yeah.
And also we now know that there are creatures that live outside of time that the Time Lords and the Master are aware of. So that's I don't know why the bowls didn't I didn't catch on. Yeah, the Master's TARDIS, the time rotor looked like a fondue fountain. It really does. Check it out. Go. Stop what you're doing now. Open your phone. Go to Google. Search the Time Monster Master's TARDIS. It's a fondue fountain.
Yeah, I don't think we learned too much. This is not really a learning episode. This is
You've got to experience it.
Yeah, because the Master and the Doctor don't really spend too many scenes together where they have time to sort of have a conversation that leads to us learning things about them.
You know what I love? The stuffed shirt who's complaining, right? He's absolutely the sort of character that in a Doctor Who story would be taken over or die. But he just comes in, is a jerk, gets in his car and leaves.
Yeah, because he listens when Unit's like, actually, we are taking over this operation because of section something, something, something.
Oh, actually, I've got that.
So I have command here. And the guy's like, fair enough, bye, and gets in his limo and drives away. In fact, that stuffed shirt guy is even suspicious of Professor Thascales. Yeah. He's the one who's like, who is this man that I'm giving funding to? Like, I don't know him. What's going on?
So it's the 7th enabling act. Unit are being enabled. Those enablers. Yeah, the Doctor makes a time flow analog from a Moroccan burgundy bottle, spoons, forks, corks, key rings, tea leaves, and a mug.
We learnt that the Master is priority 1A for Unit.
Yes. Yeah, the Doctor says, oh, I suppose he's priority, Z7 or something. It's like, no, A1, Doctor, A1.
Yeah, that's why him being in a dream is disappointing to them.
A1, and yet he still keeps getting away.
Yeah, and I also, this is just lines I enjoy, is also just the Brigadier being like, Mike, get the machine guns and the pistols. And why not throw in a few anti-tank guns just to be sure?
Are you expecting tanks, sir? I don't know what to expect.
Come!
That's it. That's all for this episode of Please Attend Carefully. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that with each new installment you come to understand, appreciate, and maybe even obey the Master. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to be updated on new episodes. We'd also love to hear from you. Amber, how can listeners get in contact with us?
They can email us at pleaseattendcarefully@gmail.com, send us an ask on Tumblr, Please Attend Carefully, or follow us on Instagram at Please Attend Carefully.
That's right. I've been Ciarán.
I'm Amber. Until next time.
We hope you'll be tuning in. After all, it can't hurt you to listen, can it?